let's talk about show week, shall we? Alright, so, basically a brief rundown of what we did every night during show week. So I had a wee little list I had a whiteboard which I was obsessed with, which I had a to-do list which we added to whenever we needed to, of like what we needed to do every night, so things we could check off, and then below that we had things that generally needed doing, that needed to be fixed but wasn't a nightly thing. Yeah, so that's what we had, my whiteboard, which gave us a checklist of everything to do, and I'll talk about that later, of some of the things that we had to do, because that's in one of my targets. I had to personally do the moon makeup every night. That was another thing, just doing it every night before the show. Took 20 minutes, so just making sure. And the moon hair as well. Kieran or Bex did the glitter in the moon's hair. Obviously fix things, and problem solve as well. Any problems that came up, fix them as they came up. That was an obvious one we knew we would be doing. There was washing, popping down to the laundrette, ironing. I did a lot of ironing, tidying the dressing rooms and stuff like that when the actors went in there, so grabbing any hair grips we could, throwing makeup wipes away, and then obviously midway through the run, washing the makeup brushes so that we kept everything sanitary. We had final show checks before, so before everyone went on stage, we'd run around and be like, is everything okay with your costumes? All good, running to all the dressing rooms. And then we had interval checks as well, so in the interval most people came to us with problems, but we would run around in the interval and make any checks we could. Sometimes we get there before the actors did, not in the morning, in the evening sometimes, and we'd just have a look at the costumes, and see how they were. So just being on hand, being ready to go with safety pins to just fix things in a quick fix, but also come up with a more permanent fix or something to sort it out. So that was what we were doing in the actual show. So we then, on the day, we had get out, so it was taking everything down, putting everything away, picking up the millions of hair grips from the floors, taking accessories down, because this was obviously once all the actors had gone, sorting them into laundry piles, organising the hair and makeup. I did that because I was mad about how much of a mess it was last year when they gave it to us, so I was like, I'm going to make this a real great, nice bag. So putting all the eyeshadows in one pot, all the brushes tied together with a hairband, hairsprays with all the hair bands put around them, all the little grips in a million boxes, no loose grips. That was my yeah, so that was get out as well. So this was a really quick rundown of what we did, and now I'll go into some more detail. So my targets throughout show week was, first one, to keep mentally healthy, because something a lot of us noticed whilst in the Barnfield is it's like a prison, because all the walls are cinder block and white, the floors all look the same, and it's very cramped up, and we've never been cramped up like that as a full company before, because even in EH we had loads more room and there were very rarely full company calls, so that was not fun. So that was why I said keep mentally healthy, because it can get really stressful and you get really easily emotionally overwhelmed, and it's so important to look after yourself during a show. It gets overlooked so much, especially if you're not an actor, but if you're in a stressful environment like that, you need to be mentally sound. You can't just have a breakdown in the middle of the thing. Moving on to the next thing, remain professional. So when if you do have a mental breakdown, if you have a moment, if you start crying, being able to be switch it off. So, for example, I was upset by something in the middle of the week. It was the 2 show day, so naturally it was crazy backstage. I was upset about something, took some time to take my space for myself so that I wouldn't ruin destroy the professional atmosphere, and also wouldn't take up brain space for anyone else. So I removed myself from the room, but then someone popped their head around the door and went, Alice needs her makeup doing. So I just went, okay, I'm doing it now. This is my job. This is the reason I'm here. I need to be able to just snap and do my job, and then I can deal with my emotions later. And that's something I've stated throughout. I've said remain professional, try and overcome your emotions. It's hard, like, trust me, I know it's hard, but being able to do that, and there's a couple people within the costume team, I'm not going to name names, but who took everything emotionally and had such negative reactions to everything and was just grumpy the entire time. And that's fine, you're human, it's okay to be grumpy, but bringing that into what is a professional workspace. It's not just a hanging out backstage, we're not just friends doing a cast, this is a workspace, we're all getting examined on this. So like, it was so downbringing, that's not a word, but it was so really like negative impacting to have someone like being upset in the corner, but also unprofessional. Like, you can't go out for a walk in the middle of a show. I'm not kidding. Someone did. This isn't me like being nasty. This is me talking about professionalism and peer assessing and saying it's unprofessional to walk out in the middle of the show if you're a costume team member when there's only 3 people in, because then 1, you're leaving that on other people. 2, if someone comes in with a crisis only you can solve, or if we're both busy, what are we gonna do? Where you can't just do that. That's not okay. That's not how you work in a professional environment. So that was something that I really, really worked on. I really took it to heart, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remain professional. I'm going to be the career person I need to be, and so that if I need a reference for a job, for a makeup job, I've got a good one, you know? And I'm going to get a good grade, hopefully, for this section, because I'm professional, I took a leadership role, and I'm confident in my designs and my ideas, and I'm not taking feedback emotionally. So when there's a big old problem with the makeup or something, or when there's a problem with the trousers not being like, this is a personal attack on my designs, because it's not. It's a problem that you need to solve, and that's something I really needed to do. That was a wee bit of peer assessing then. Another one was to solve all the problems, and we did. I'm really proud of us to say that there were no ongoing problems that never got fixed, that like caused a big old breakdown of the show. We fixed all of our problems. If they didn't have permanent fixes, we fixed them nightly. So I'll talk about my list now of organisational heaven. So on my whiteboard I had do the moon's hair, do the moon's makeup, sew Cameron's jeans. So this is a problem solving one. Essentially, Cameron got on the floor and ripped his jeans, and they were pink jeans, so they couldn't be patched up because we didn't have pink denim to hand. We couldn't dye another scrap of denim because that would take like 2 days and the show would be over. So we came up with the idea of trying to sew it and seeing if it ripped, and then what we'd do if it would rip. And then it did rip on stage, but we find that when it did rip in the show, it really worked for the characters because we wanted the lovers to get distressed throughout. We wanted them to lose that nobility that they have at the beginnings, to show them like getting distressed by like the physical turmoil of running through the Torah forest, but also reflecting the emotional turmoil that the character's going through with all the love potion in their costume. So it was great when Cameron's jeans ripped every night on cue as he was crawling through the forest. So that was something on our list, was to check Cameron's jeans are sewed before he goes on, and then check in the interval that they have ripped. Obviously on my list as well was pre-show checks, post-interval checks, holes checks and stuff like that, and then other little things like making sure Alice's bow tie, like not Alice, Jazz's, one of the wedding planners' bow tie broke halfway through, so pinning that in place every night was on the list. Spraying Aiden's hair because he had to have it done a certain way for the character to look proper and to look homophobic, because Aegeus is meant to look homophobic and, you know, all regulated and etc. So giving him his little curl and his slick hairspray, making sure we had someone in every night who could do these specific jobs, which was something I made sure of, making sure they got ticked. So that was massive organisational thing. Okay. That was us solving all the problems. So moving in to some problems. I'm not going to give you all the problems because I'd be here for hours, but I will give you some examples. So one night, Alice's eye, who plays the moon, wouldn't stop watering, and she had quite a complex eyeliner look. I think I have an example of it. Yes. So she has a complex eyeliner look like this, with the tail, and her eye kept watering and wiping this tail off in this bit here. So during the first act, it was every time she was off stage, she'd come to me, I'd wipe her eye and I'd fix it. And then during the interval, she came to me with like the tears like hitting her eyelids. So I was like, we need to fix this, we need to problem solve this. So I took off all of the eyeliner look and decided that she could do without tonight if I just put a more intense black eyeshadow back along the lash line and redid the eyeshadow look around it, reapplied all the glitter, and then just smoked out her lash line a little bit more. So the change wouldn't be noticeable to an audience, but she wouldn't be constantly touching her face and having to worry about coming backstage to me. So that was a big thing that I personally problem solved. Something we problem solved as a team is Keelan, our Oberon, who was very movement based and very dance based, cut the top of his foot and bled all over the stage. So it was stage management's job to clean up the stage, but it was our job to chill the bleeding, so plasters, and then we decided to give him more foot wraps. So it's like there was someone holding the wrap, someone cutting it up, I wasn't tying it, I was cutting it, Kieran tying it around his foot, and then Keelan being like, I can tie it, and stuff like that. Putting as many as we could on it, and then testing it to see if it would stop bleeding, because we don't want to bleed on stage. But yeah, another problem we solved, Jasmine's bow tie broke halfway through the show, so we just pinned it every night before she went on. Cam's jeans needed to be sewn every night, so we just came up with just sew it and let it break on stage because it works with the character anyway. Other things like the doors were slamming backstage, so cutting off some spare fabric we had and tying it around the handles so it didn't slam. But yeah, during the show week, I've gone on a rant about, I've peer assessed about my team and how it's frustrating when people sit there doing nothing, and how it's annoying when people get into their emotional states when we're meant to be working in a professional environment. But saying that, we all came together really well as an ensemble. We all had clear-cut jobs that we did every night. There were no arguments within the team like I thought there would be. We all worked together really well and stayed relatively professional. And yeah, I'm proud of us for pulling it together, and it's actually, I'll go more into this in the evaluation, but I had several people who saw the show come up to me and say how beautifully it looked on stage, how visually stunning it was, and I'm so proud of all the cast, obviously, for doing an amazing job, but also I'm really proud of myself and my team because we pulled that together, and seeing the photos that they took for the dress run-throughs was breathtaking, because you're like, wow, I did that. That was me and my group of friends. It's great. So yeah, really good ensemble work, really lovely to see your creations come together and to reflect on those. It was just a really positive experience, no matter how negative and stressful I say it was. Yeah, I'm proud of all of the process that went into it and how we dealt with the stress and the problems that show week came with. Woo, evaluation next.